Alright, so finally got the mic to work for this, so I might be a couple minutes late on the submission, but um, this is the similar image processor, kind of the proof of concept code that I'm going to turn into an app on App Designer. It just took longer than I anticipated. This is the first block of code that I borrowed from a MATLAB Answers site. It just allows us to open up the File Explorer and accept any range of files that are image, JPEG, or TIFF files. Here we've got the file size is going to be the length of the amount of pictures that are chosen here, and for every single one of those we're going to get the actual full file name, which is the path as well, so that we can read it in and store it into a value called mypic. So mypic is going to be a matrix, of pixel values. I also want to store those names for later use for subplotting. And mypic is really just for comparison. And in mypic, initially it kind of just done the entire sum. I've got some commented out past work on here so you can see my process a little bit more. I wanted to try something like taking specific strips of each matrix to try to make the sensitivity a little bit higher and be able to differentiate between images better, which it did end up working. I tried it on quite a few test samples and they were less similar using this method, so much so that they didn't plot oddly, different images in the same subplots. Adding those strips, those vertical and horizontal strips together, gets us our total number of pixels values, and then we put those into an array named picnums, and then another for loop going through the entirety of that picnums array. We're going to compare each element with each and every other element. The problem with this, which I haven't quite figured out how to fix, but I'm sure it's an easy fix for anybody else watching this, is that it's going to have two cell arrays for each set of images that are the same, because it'll go through and compare it back to the first one and find it to be similar. So it comes up with these numbers that are going to end up being percentages of whichever element we're comparing against the rest. And then this is the location of threshold values that we set over here. So let's do like 98 for the test case that I'm going to do, a couple test cases that I'm going to do. So within 2%, so 98% similar to what we're looking for is going to get us a pretty good for most cases. And this I can turn into a slider bar on the app and have the user maybe determine what sensitivity level they like. So there's really two areas of sensitivity here. There's the threshold, and then there's also the method up here with how we're comparing the mypic arrays, or the mypic matrices. This is going to be each grouping. So we have a cell array now of cell arrays that are based off of the names that are similar to each other with this T-locks. The locations are going to be the indexes for this vector. This actually is not necessary. I didn't use that anywhere else in the code. I don't know why that's still there. Great. And now we have like the kind of bulkier part of the code that was tough to work out just with debugging them, kind of like logic errors. But the main, it actually took me longer to do this than it took me to think about how I wanted to make this all happen, just because of the amount of bugs. And I finally, broke down, I'm like, all right, I'll use breakpoints. And I found out that I had a for loop here because I was so used to doing for loops in C++ with 2 for loops to index through matrices, and I didn't see it for so long. And there was another thing where I didn't have a for loop here to index the number of picture properly. So just a bunch of little silly mistakes that I was making that took me a long time, a shameful amount of time. And then if there is no similar images to any given image, this is the message that's given, and we'll test it now so you can see that. And this is like the best part of this project. I got real hungry. These photos are awesome. So these are all pictures of food over the months from 66 en route, and this is my favorite test case, is this soups, because the colors you can see are very similar, but the shapes are different, and it's going to be tough for the computer to tell, or for the program to tell, if the sensitivity is not high enough, that they are different. But I think it will work with the numbers that we chose for this case. And so it still has, it's auto-populating more, you know, as I was saying before, it's got more groupings, like duplicate groupings, which I'll take care of by having the user pick which grouping they want to view in the app. And you can see that these two images, size-wise, are definitely more similar than these three images. Actually, that's probably a subplot issue, but so that's a really tough, like that's like the toughest test case that I could come up with because of the way that those images look. So I'll choose one that's definitely a little bit more, you know, standard, and that should show the effectiveness for it in most cases. So we'll just do this sort of thing here, and it's going to open up just a bunch of figures, and again, the user will have a list of figures or groups, and I've got to come up with a way to name those so they know how to select which one they want to look at, but that'll be doable for sure. What happened? Where are my figures? Alright, let's try that again. Definitely should have worked. Oh, I set breakpoints. Oh, see, that's my inexperience with breakpoints right there. But they worked it like a charm to find that for loop, so I'm going to quit debugging. And there we go. This is actually one of my favorite test cases too, because it's got 3 sets of similar images and one that's not like the rest. And this is a good way to show you. So those two are the same, and that double populates. And then we have the one image that's not similar to anything, so it doesn't get plotted, of course. And ideally there's just going to be one set of each of these, but you can play around with it. You've got that entire file of food images if you want to try to see a little bit more and mess with the sensitivity levels. So that is the similar image processor kind of background code for what it will become, and I'm excited to finish it, and hopefully I'll be able to bring that to you in the spring and show you, and show it off. It'll be pretty cool. Thank you very much.